Now, cyber culture and risk management are some of the biggest issues facing company executives around the world. Businesses can protect themselves from past attacks, but they don't know what is round the corner.
And how can they involve their staff in improving security? Well, to explore the challenges facing businesses, we're joined by Dr. Keri Pearlson, Executive Director of CAMS at MIT Sloan School of Management.
Keri, thank you so much for joining us. Look, we know that in today's world, companies can never be 100% secure, which begs the question, how secure can they be?
Well, good morning, good afternoon, Juliet and Johnny. Thank you for having me join you today. It's really an important question. How secure can a company be? Turns out, of course, as you mentioned, you can't be 100% secure, but you don't want to be 0% secure. So the answer to that question is really a whole discussion about risk management and what kind of risk your company is willing to take on. We like to think that companies are as secure as possible and that companies build defense in-depth programs so that they keep as many of the bad guys out as possible.
Keri, what advice can you pass on to the leaders of some of these companies? What can they be doing to be as cyber secure as possible?
Well, Johnny, it turns out that our research at MIT Sloan talks a lot about building a culture of cybersecurity. And leaders have a dual role in that kind of environment. Not only are they the leaders where they have to project to the rest of the company their personal interests and their personal priority for being cyber secure, but they also have to lead and have to demonstrate cyber secure behaviors themselves. They set the tone. Not only do they set the culture, but they set the tone by what they do personally.
Keri, we know that more people are working remotely because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but how does that change the threat of cybercrime?
Really good question. We're all working remotely, and that has caused lots of what I like to say fear, uncertainty, doubt, and chaos in our world today. Things are changing momentarily. We don't know from one moment to the next so many things that are going on in the world and in our organizations. And since we're working remote, we don't have the benefit of turning over and talking to our neighbor at the next cubicle or the next office over. So the information flow is very different. The bad guys know this also, and so they've taken advantage of the chaos that we're all living in right now. We've seen an uptick in phishing emails. Those are emails that look like they're real, look like they're sent to you personally, but are sent by bad guys trying to steal your information or get you to click on a file. We've seen an uptick in cyber crime such as ransomware. We've seen malware being distributed in websites that look like they're real websites. We've seen all sorts of fake information that is transmitted to people through the web or through email, and it's really hard to tell the difference between, in many cases, what's real and what's fake. So we've seen a real big uptick in cybercrime during this COVID time.
Let's talk about tackling this cybercrime. Your research talks about the importance of making cybersecurity part of everyone's job. So how can a company actually do that? What do you mean by building a culture of cybersecurity?
Well, thank you for asking me that. I love to talk about building a culture of cybersecurity. To me, a culture are the values, attitudes, and beliefs that drive the behaviors you want to see in an organization. So to build a culture of cybersecurity, we want to see well thought out plans. One company, financial services company we work with, has hired somebody to actually design a culture of cybersecurity. And in that particular case, this executive is a marketing executive. So she understands the value of communications and how to communicate messages in a way that people can relate to. In another case, a bank that we've worked with, they have an evangelist of cybersecurity. And what he does is set up programs way beyond the normal training programs that help change people's hearts and minds. A third company we've worked with, the executives take on a personal role, as I mentioned earlier. In one case, the cybersecurity leader took on the role of a superhero and donned makeup in some cases and masks and a cape and actually personified the kinds of values, attitudes, and beliefs that they wanted to drive in their organization. So building a culture of cybersecurity doesn't just happen because you want it to. It has to be a well thought out plan with leader with vision and creativity to change people's values, attitudes, and beliefs.
And Keri, I would also imagine that part of this, or maintaining this culture of cybersecurity, is really getting to grips with the depth of risk, the dangers that are out there, training staff, but also managers educating themselves.
Yeah, that's true. Our research has shown that training is just not enough. I'm sure many people out there have taken a training class when they first joined an organization. Maybe you have compliance training where you have to take a class once a year. Many people take that class while they're reading their email or looking at websites. They're just doing it because they have to check a box. So training is just not adequate. And even if people complete a training class, they're likely to forget a good portion of what they learned if they don't use it immediately. So we like to see in a culture many other activities that drive the messages and that paint for people the picture of the behavior that they want to see. So it could be something like one company puts Post-it notes. Well, they did when we were all in the same office, put Post-it notes around the organization. In this COVID world, we've seen some very creative ideas such as videos and pushing out emails that remind people of cybersecurity. And well, one day I want to write a book, Cybersecurity Can Be Free, because frankly, if every manager took 1 minute out of their meetings with all of their team and just talked about the kind of behavior they want to see, that doesn't cost anything. And that would definitely go a long way to helping people understand what to do and how to do it and how to keep their organizations secure.
Okay, so some sound advice there. But Dr. Keri Pearlson, thank you so much for joining us here on Sibos 2020.